blood, yeah. Okay. I pull a few deep on my niggas, consider it's pivotal. Trap through the app, make her clap it, don't cap it, she tapping it fast. I think that you know they be catching it. Standing 6 feet up, casting a shadow.
What's gonna get the most pep?
I don't know why I do that. I tend to go too high sometimes.
Yeah, nothing wrong. And actually try here to slide your hips forward a little bit. Just your hips, hips, and actually give me a little large. So think about this point, staying tall. And just keep that exactly still. So don't move the ribs, same things. Abs can stay tight even though you're arch. So everything lined up right to the lower back. Just forward right there. Smooth. That's it right there.
That's great, yeah.
Stretch. Right there. Trevor will come around here on this side, Trevor. So if anyone wants to see what I'm doing, I'm looking at his lower pec line. So this is where the vast majority, if I could literally take his pec apart, which I won't do because that's painful, is the most pec meat is going to be basically these fibers that are going to attach kind of to the bottom of his ribs a little, excuse me, the down here, kind of the bottom of his ribs, here to the sternum. And I'm trying to line everything up with that. So I was moving everything a little bit lower, having his hips forward, a little bit of an arch here, because I want his upper arm, the cable, everything lined up right through here. So if someone just wants bigger pecs, line it up with that part. Not to say that there's anything wrong with trying to buy some upper stuff sometimes too, but if you just get your upper arm, the cable, everything lined up with the most pec meat, not to get too technical, that's where you're gonna have the most payoff for.
They just cut the check, so I'm up in the slip. I take for J to the neck, then I stretch to start my day. I hit the cash down. It's different now. I was down then, but that's all in the past tense. So I can't stop till I'm top 10, and I'm not 10. I'm so in love with the process. Not all in a day, but it took them some time to build wrong. I just come to crib, never home. No, I can't keep a charge on the phone. So she thinks she in love with a ghost. When I'm home, I make sure that she get what she needs, so she know what I'm capable of. Know my rhythm, could spar with the pros. They pay me to hear what I'm on, they ask what I'm on. I'm doing great, I suppose. Cause I get to do what I want, it's legit, but it sound like it's straight from the stove. They playing my tape in the field and they treat me like I'm making plays in the fourth. Know the beat bang with a force. I'm a product to stay in the course, yeah. I watch my step on a tightrope. The rate going up at a high slope. I don't got no work-life balance. I'm never throwing a towel in. The pen game hella nice with it. The flow heavy like a hydrant, but it come with a patent. I'm laughing and badgering all of them boys that won't bite it. I keep my center and shine like I'm supposed to. The way I deliver, they pose to. I'm going somewhere you ain't seen on no atlas. It look like we stepping through portals. I'm off of the potion, the devil been calling, but I just ignored him for it. Task force told me go up. Okay, you asked for it. The task force told me go up.
No, this is when you make the joke about, well, he's got to train harder because he's Mr. Olympia. And I'm supposed to say a joke about, like, I'm just going to be Mr. South Tampa, except he lives in South Tampa, and Nick Walker lives in South Tampa, and Terrence lives in South Tampa. BPAC used to live in South Tampa. I can't even do that. I'm Mr. just right in my house address. That's about it. Smooth bend. Okay, how many you do? Nice smooth stretch. Hard squeeze across. Good. Smooth into that finish. Don't reach. Keep that chest tall. Just this into this. Hard contraction. Right there. Chest up. Keep that chest tall to finish. Reaching this towards the wall. There we go. That's smooth. I was gonna say, that's a tip. I don't remember what coach, I can't say that I thought of that one, but some other coach who I was telling him to bend the elbow too. If you ever doing flies and you feel a lot in your biceps, one, the biceps loaded. So there's no two ways around the fact that the weight's pulling you into extension. So again, especially if you have a slight bend, it is your bicep contracting that keeps your elbow from fully extending, but also your bicep crosses your shoulder. So some people, when they're stretching back here, you can stretch that bicep tendon a little bit too much or more than you want. And so whatever feels bad, you can bend the elbow. That'll shorten the bicep, so it's not as stretched, but you can still stretch your pec just as far. So I said, I don't remember where I got that from, but so I think it makes a lot of sense to do your flies when you're coming back, bend your elbow a little bit at the bottom, so you can have a lot of pec stretch without overstretching that bicep or bicep tendon. And then as you come into the top, just kind of straighten your elbow out as you come to the top. So you're still getting that fully contracted, because if you keep them bent, you're gonna end here. Whereas you've still got that much left of pec contracting. So the only thing to be careful about that is not changing it all the time, right? So you wouldn't do your warm-up sets here, and then your top sets just turn into a press, right? So that's a little bit of a tricky part. Keep the amount of bend the same, the amount of strengthening the same to the top.
And for me on this exercise, I noticed when you said don't reach, meaning like don't reach too far forward with your hands, like extending your shoulders forward. I tend to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Just because I'm thinking, okay, I want a maximum contraction at the top, so I need to push my arms straight.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking about taking my biceps together, sometimes I push the hands forward, the fists forward.
Yeah.
And so that really just puts a lot of tension in the wrong areas.
Yeah. Come to the top here, I'll show them something too, so you can sit down actually. Just the top of the fly. So what he's talking to give you a good visual too. If you come here, so imagine, basically what we're talking about, this pec inserts some here in the upper arm up here, origins down towards here, somewhere where that's kind of just lining up the big part we're trying to do. If he protracts and caves in, so if he kind of caves, that's why I was saying to keep his chest off. If he caves and he protracts, arms forward, there we go. These points can actually get further away. Where if he keeps his chest tall, so chest up, and he thinks more smashing that in and across, those points actually get closer together. He gets more of a contraction. So that's why I was saying, one, keep the chest tall, but also think about, like he said, if you think about your pec only pulls this way, so the finish pulls that way. If you start to go that way, something else goes that way, right? So you're actually gonna use some serratus and some other stuff probably to move your arms that way and take it off of your pecs. So that one takes some practice. It's a good one to get the feel for.
Be calling, left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling, the birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling, phone and progression, it's all that I wanted, the phone and affection, I summon and dub it, cause bitch I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems, I solve them, I run through the money, the pressure be calling, left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling, the birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling, phone and progression, it's all that I wanted, the phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Why you be all on my line about nothing, why won't you go get you $1 or something, don't hang with a nigga who lying for nothing, I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. Don't go to your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust it. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bugging. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I divvy the pie. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune on flipping the ride. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe, and 40 on 50 is really the time. Why are you all on my phone like you want me, like you wasn't pushing the kid to the side? I don't know if you bitches are thinking I'm blind. Cross on my crosses and dot on my eyes. Done with your efforts, I'm dealing with pressures. I know it's a lesson, that's word of the wise. Dubbing the mixes I'm mixing, I know I've been missing, I needed some personal time. Fuck all the pictures, dimensions, I don't with your digits, I mean it, I'm staying inside. Cause bitch, I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems, I solve them, I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling, the birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted, the phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause bitch, I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems, I solve them, I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling, the birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted, the phone and affection, I summon and dub it.
Squeeze. Work.
Go dummy, go beast, oh no. I go beast, go deep, I OD, oh no. Apply pressure, put heat, oh no. Put that 500 degrees, oh no. 500 degrees. Go dummy, go beast, oh no. I go beast, go deep, I OD, oh no. I OD. Apply pressure, put heat, oh no. Put that 500 degrees, oh no. 500 degrees. Countdown, levitate, going up, elevate.
motivate, watch me demonstrate. On time, never late. I grind, celebrate, no pump fake, hesitate. I've been scoring every day. Champagne Perrier. Since 9-3, been in the box, now I'm stepping up tone. Like straight out the sandlot, now I'm plotting on the globe. I work hard, I show love, that calm and steady growing. Got this far, I go hard, let God take control. I was starving skinny, now my weight up. Energy for haters. See you later. I'm shooting for the stars, need no laser beam blowing like the greatest, but it's one who's always greater. Go dummy, go beast on them. I go beast, go deep, I OD on them. Apply pressure, put heat on them. Put that 5-0-0 degrees on them. Go dummy, go beast on them. I go beast.
We've always typically had some slightly more upper body frequency compared to lower body.
Yeah.
So in the past, we've had this day look like, so we've had, the first part of our week is generally push, pull, lower.
Gotcha.
So we technically train our whole body in the first 3 days of the week.
Okay.
Then we take an off day, and then we have today. And in the past, I've had this day, I've done it different ways, but we've had at one point in time more shoulders, and those shoulders respond so fast, no more shoulders. So we wanted a little bit more frequency, kind of on the whole upper body too. We wanted more back focus than anything. So you'll see we have 3 back movements today. Just one, but I wanted a teeny bit of back frequency, teeny bit of delt frequency. So we're gonna have 1 delt movement after this as well too. So only doing 1 movement for chest, only doing 1 movement for delts, but 3 movements for back. And then we have an arm day tomorrow. So that's the priority. So if you look over the course of the split, you're basically training this whole lower body only once.
Yeah.
But we're training back a lot more, arms a lot more. And then really we don't have a delt day. So I just train day 1 delt movement on a push, 1 delt movement today, and then just 1 extra chest movement for a little bit more body frequency.
Shot.
Oh no, you're good.
Good man, look really good. Same thing, just for that finish. Visualize smashing tricep into here, nice and tight to your body. Drive your elbow into the floor. Same thing, probably just 5-8 reps or so to warm up. Don't need a whole lot. Drive that elbow down into the floor to finish. I don't really care what you do with your hand. Don't let that elbow flare too much. There you go. Just keep it a little more right in line with the arm. And it feels good.
I do think it comes back to what you said over here. Like my back has a lot more tissue.
Yeah.
So when I'm overthinking it, I'm like squeezing so hard, it's just exhausting me like crazy.
Yeah.
And like I get such a massive pump so quick that like after a few reps, I'm like, maybe, I don't know.
I always say the only thing everyone should always overthink is like alignment, right? Because the thing is, you could probably make 50 back exercises, great back exercises for you. But some of them might wreck your elbows, might wreck your wrists along the way.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I say overthink is like, all right, well, there might be no reason for you to do some sort of fixed bar or anything or whatever it is, just because you want to save your joints. Because that's a lot of people too. Even like, I get guys with great arms, you got great arms. So it's like, well, what should I do for my arms? It's like, well, you still want, in my opinion, do a lot of like single arm stuff because you need your elbows for your chest and for your back. You might not have to do, like you might not technically like, oh, do I have to do this stuff? They go fine doing skull crushers and barbell curls. It's like, that may be true, but that also long run could be bad for your elbows or your wrists or whatever.
Definitely for arms, unilateral exercises I think are more effective for me because you get in this like weird fixed position and it just,
and that's the thing too, is like for you, and I need like huge guy, is like as you get bigger, they generally fit worse. So it's like barbell curls might have actually, like, you know, for us when we're skinny, you're 130 pounds, I'm 150 pounds, everything kind of lines up. You're like, oh, this is easy, everything's good. And then as you kind of get more like this, it's like obviously a bar doesn't go like this anymore, right?
You know,
to do
like V, like almost like a hammer curl.
Yeah, it just turns into something weird. So.
Yeah.
Shows until slightly. They wanna ride my ties, but they ain't even ride or die, please. But I've been short on time, been in the prime of my prime, easy. I said I never changed and leveled up. I guess I lied, yeah. Off that straight up potent just to feel like I'm alive, yeah. Mix that with that potion just to feel like I'm that guy, yeah. I know the one you talking to, you way outside your line, yeah. Go against the tribe, you lose your. Let me not even say this. I just ran out of my place. I just got tired of waiting and got here myself. Want me to believe in the dream that they see for themselves, but still doubting themselves. They might as well light up the L. High top on 10 toe, drip retro. Talking major plays, hella high tech through the getro. Pin game, pin petrol. Just set it in the flesh hole. Send a text mail to give a wet clothes. On the vapor wave to make a drip drip with the left lobe in the left stroke. I'ma make plays, I'ma go long. Never look back so long. Yeah. Shawty on 10 finna go up. Bring that to the crib, let me show love. I'ma make plays, I'ma go up. Never look back so long.
The other easy answer on that for you too is, I mean, you probably don't have to do single arm.
No, thanks.
Right? No, so like the single arm for arms is different for single arm for like pull downs. So single arm for arms is because, I mean, it's a hinge joint. So there's, that joint doesn't have any freedom of motion. Where for like lats, if you're a guy like me or someone that has a harder time getting lats, half the reason I do single arm is because I have to be like right in this plane. If I get out of this plane, I have a whole bunch of other stuff I'm good at using. Or even though like you'll have guys, you hear guys say, but there's some degree of truth to like, you know, this plane might not be optimal for lats. It's probably just fine for you, Kai Green.
It feels pretty effective for me.
Because again, literally you have so much tissue there that it's still great lines of pull for all your
I feel
left
like I
arm.
can come straight down with the curve.
Yeah.
And that's about as good as it's gonna get anyway.
And even for this, like, so if you're doing both arms, like again, the whole thing is like you might be out a little bit wider, but you don't have to be this exactly this type of deal to find your lat. So if you don't want to worry about having to deal with side bend stuff, just do two arms. And for the most part, just because you're big, like this honestly will probably still fit you pretty good. Or even it's just like a.
Well, it feels good today. I won't lie, but I also feel like just a regular standard wide grip pull down feels good.
Or even anything where, like, 'cause the only thing I like that's nice on this one, Randy's have a 2-arm pull down is neutral. So even like with a wider grip neutral bar, that would probably be something that I would think probably really well for you. Yeah. So again, you wouldn't have to do a single arm. You're still, everything's lining up nice. We'll do. I like to do the last, and I'll do little drops on this one, doing both arms at the same time anyway, for something fun. But we'll see how that feels anyway, because that could be, you know, you just don't even have to worry about that stuff if you just do both arms. Sure. And honestly, I hate doing single arm anything because it takes twice as long.
And it's exhausting.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll do it because I want muscles, but my patience doesn't want me to do it.
Just get it done. Come on. Nice. Good work. Be ready. Let's go. Strong. Come on. Down. Come on, let's go. Let's work. Still once, come on. There it is, come on. Nice. Nice, come on. Yep.
Good. Come on. Five-ish breath. 10 a second. It doesn't feel like you want to do extra rotating the press too much. Just keep it a little bit tense. After 5 or so, right back into it. The range of motion be a little short. Just try to stay in that stretch position. Just keep it smooth. Keep that back tight. Good.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Together. Pushing together. 5-ish big breaths. Let them relax. A little stretch. And the same thing. Do it. Just stay a little bit more in that top half stretch position. Don't have to have a lot of range of motion. Just keep it smooth. Keep it tight. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God.
Good set, man. That's fun, right?
Yeah, that's fun. Jeez. It's just altogether different, you know? So I was saying earlier, that change of pace, man, like you can go in and have good workouts, but it's always good to go with somebody that does something a little different. Hammers the form. Just different, man. It's good.
Hand is facing relative to the table. Even as it comes to the top, it's in a fairly similar plane. But yeah, there's probably a little bit of a component of external rotation, right?
Maybe it's me trying to keep my hands in too much.
Yeah.
So maybe I should.
Yeah, just see how far. The most important thing on this one is just keeping the cable in plane with your arm, right? So you wouldn't want, like as I'm coming here, like you wouldn't want your arm way low or your arm way high or something.
Yeah.
So again, from this is the starting point, and obviously that's going to make a line basically from the hand to the cable that's at this angle. You just basically want to continue in that angle. Okay. And that's honestly the nice part is it really has a lot of kind of freedom of motion, right? So it's not like that's the beauty of even if you could adjust things a little bit to kind of find your more comfortable spot.
Especially with the wrist things.
Yeah. Well, and that's still the better way to error, I think. You know, it's to a certain overthinking a little bit. Yeah, looks great. Nice. And that cable just lines up with a ton of stuff. So a lot of rear delt, a lot of that medial delt there, side delt. Smooth, smooth finish. Always think contract. It's a hard contraction finish. There you go. Don't bounce out of there. Contract hard.
Okay. Good. Squeeze. Ooh.
So I'm just gonna put a little bit lower, because I'm in a little bit of a higher position than you. I was in my shoulder joint.
Okay.
So I want you to have a little bit of your angles a little bit more of your delta ball. So by putting it a little bit lower and having your angle a little bit more kind of low to high, it's a little bit more side delt. I just want to see how it looks more than anything else. Either one's
I'm
right
really
around.
trying to leave my pride and ego at the door.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, coming into today, from us working, training together in the past,
Yeah.
I knew like your style of training, and I
Yeah.
was like, okay, this is how we're training today.
Yeah.
And as the workout's going along, I'm like, it's taxing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep that mentality of, hey, this is how we gotta perform every rep
Yeah.
today. So
Yeah.
just trying to let you show me up on that last one. Yeah. Hey.
Good reps, man. Nice and smooth. Hard squeeze. Everyone help you contract. Visualize that belt just balling out. Hard squeeze.
Okay.
Just partials at the bottom. Just keep it smooth, not fast. Just straight out. Right there, that's it.
Boom. Hey. Oh.
Keep moving. 5, 4, 3, 2. Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Now you take them off. Quick chops.
Okay, I was gonna say I knew you had that play on there. I thought that you do all those sets like that.
No.
Jeez, please.
Yep. And same thing, just look for it from the bottom. Just a smooth face, though. Straight out. Good, come on. Keep it moving, come on. Yeah. Come on. 3, 2. When I first started training, one, I had the bodybuilding idea, so I just like bodybuilding. I just wanted to do whatever bodybuilders did, whatever Arnold did. Then also, like everyone else, being a male, it's like I want to look good for girls.
Exactly.
Girls like muscles. And so I was so skinny that I had abs just from being emaciated, basically. And then I wanted to have a chest, because especially, I don't know, whatever girls like now.
I'm there with you. I was
Yeah.
the same way. 130 pounds when I graduated high school.
Oh,
so
yeah.
No chest?
Yeah,
Abs.
yeah. And so I literally was like, all I wanted when I started training was pecs. I was like, abs and pecs. Girls like those. I was like, I got abs. Now I just need some pecs. And so I was just doing the stuff you're supposed to do. I'm like, I'm bench pressing, obviously, doing whatever. And like I remember my delts getting bigger, my arm is getting a little bit bigger, and literally like no chest whatsoever. And I was like, gosh, this is horrible. And so that's the first time I remember being like thinking, like maybe I have to do these things differently. And so as soon as
because your clavicles are so wide,
Yeah.
right? Like your shoulders are so broad.
I have a pretty small rib cage actually. I remember like my senior year of prom, getting tape measured for my tucks and having a 39-inch chest.
Oh,
and I was like, and that was this height, so like 5'10", 5'11", and I was like 30. Not like normally that's not in the 30s, right? And I remember my buddies, they're 42-inch chests, and 43. That I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? And so yeah, it's a little bit tougher for me to connect with. But I remember it's actually one of the first body parts like I then connected with, because I was like, all right, I gotta like do stuff, like biceps grew, front delt grew, or whatever. And I was like, all right, I gotta figure this out. And so then actually thinking about that, it's like one of the first things I got connected with, and now it's still one of the best body parts I haven't connected with, still my upper body. So but that's when I first been like, everyone does doing the same things, doesn't always work out the same way.
Right.
It's like, this is when things started, light bulbs started to come on.
39-inch measurements.
Yeah.
Is that your waist or is that your?
Yeah, exactly. My waist is probably the same too. I'm like
39 to 39.
I'm kind of refrigerator is how my torso tends to be. I was like, I'm lucky. Like I luckily do. I didn't realize at the time. Like I do have broader clavicles, and I naturally get good quad sweep.
Yeah.
But like my hips are wide too. So people so before I actually had any delts or any quads, I did just look like a refrigerator. Kind of just looked like straight up and down. I was like, this isn't good. All right, guys. So some people, I don't know who would do this, would accuse me of making stuff up. I'm not making stuff up. I'm solving problems. Here's an example of problem solving. So we put these in here. I want to do a rope pullover. These are the pullovers and the ropes that my gym has. And so I put these together and I go, look, they're different lengths. And I don't know about you, but this would drive me insane. So problem solving, what we're doing is, we got carabiners. We go bigger carabiner. And voila, wait for it. Wait, so we can get the clip going. Now watch here. There we go, the exact same length. 2 different carabiners. And sometimes I did this. So I would put this one up here. Can we see that, Trevor? And then I go like this and I go, oh man, they're still slightly off. That one's a little bit longer. But if you put this carabiner on top, this carabiner below, and then now it can't pass the little loop there, and now they're the same length. So I'm not making shit up. I'm just out here playing chess. You guys are playing checkers.
Oh yeah, that was great. All that, wow. Look at his lats just fire. This is perfect for when you go to turn around and get that rear relaxed pose like this. Relax and just so engaged, popping like crazy and excited.
So in case you guys at home, after that whole ridiculous mess, are wondering, like Megan asked over here, why don't you just hold on up here and make them even? I had a smart answer to make myself feel smart, because these parts are for bracing. So literally the same function to a certain degree as the back pad of a leg press. So that's not the the weak point in the chain of the exercise. But the real answer is because I'm weak. If I had strong man hands, I could actually hold on, but I have dainty hands. And so again, I wanted there, so my grip is not the fatiguing point. Megan's stronger than me, so she likes to remind me of it while I'm in here training, that I'm very dainty.
Don't be shy, we're in your territory.
One more.
Nice. There you go. That's it right there. Good. Drive it down. chest up,
Yeah.
I get a better engagement in my lats. I believe my lower lats. I believe.
Yeah.
Is that to be true, or because I see some guys kind of like keeping their chin down and kind of this?
I would say for most people, the most important is to keep your spine still. So really, because it's like your lat doesn't really work like a bow and arrow. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, like if I do this, or I do this, does it really change the mechanics of the lat? Not a whole lot. This, like for some guys, I would say not doing much of this, just because, not because the lat will work less, but because some upper back stuff can work more, which is a subtle difference. So I would say this might be in the category of wherever feels best for you, keep it. The only thing I would say is keep it still though. So meaning, I wouldn't recommend as you're coming through doing this. If this position feels better, I would just keep it still. So for almost everyone with the back stuff, I think keeping the spine still is good. I'd also say mess around. So if I have guys that tend to have a harder time feeling their lats, then I like them more neutral or slightly rounded. I don't think one way is really better than the other.
So maybe it's that if I'm getting tired, maybe I'm slouching over a little bit on the eccentric motion.
Maybe. Yeah, but
and then when I throw my chest up, I'm back into alignment.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah. Well, some of it too, I mean, so then depending on what you're feeling and what you're using, I think your rib cage position can affect how much your scapula can move. I don't think it affects a whole lot how much your lats are really gonna work necessarily. So sometimes if you're a little bit more rounded, I think you can get more protracted. And if you're a little bit more extended, you can get more retracted. But for, like I said, for you on this, I honestly would just kind of go with feel more than anything else. I would try both. Like I would try on this one, just out of curiosity, push your hips back a little bit and press your chest in a little bit more and see how that feels as well.
I guess when I'm watching guys do, let's say for example, like a single arm row, for example, and they're like curled over like this and they're doing this.
Yeah.
For me, in my head, I just have never felt great engagement with the lats when I'm like kind of hunched over like this.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm like really straight or even arched almost in a way, then I feel it better. I don't know if that's just me or if that's, I don't know.
Yeah, so some of that, like I said, I would kind of put that a little bit, for me it's a really an individual thing, honestly. I have a hard time with it because there's so much, like lats are such a different thing as far as where the muscle bellies insert, the size of them, you know, and it's a lot of other stuff.
Complex.
A lot of other stuff plays into it. So it's like, it is one of the things where I kind of just see what someone presents first. And honestly, like if someone feels their lats pretty well, almost whatever they're doing, unless I think they're gonna hurt themselves, unless I see a lot of other joints moving, right? So there's almost no time, even if someone felt their lats good, you know, doing this, I'd be like, well, I don't really think this is providing any benefit. Or doing a whole lot of this, I'd say, well, I don't really think so. I might have somebody keep things still just so we're focused on what you're supposed to be focused on. But aside from that, like kind of different body positions and stuff, kind of find it and, you know, I always see what somebody kind of presents and where I make any recommendations.
Looks great. Watch it lit. Watch it lit up. Come on. Good work. Oh man. You know, that makes perfect sense, man. Like I like how you say like if you want to add more volume, doing like that back offset. I think that's in my head the most optimal, because you want to hit those top those heavy sets, but if you are trying to keep pushing past that, I mean, why do you need to keep hammering that crazy amount of weight? Why wouldn't you want to back off just a little bit, you know, focus, you know, on strict form and really just stimulating that muscle, just repetition after repetition, trying to, you know, get the most blood volume that you can in that muscle. That's the way I see it. I don't know how you see it exactly, but I think it lines up pretty similarly.
Honestly, all that stuff, everyone gets fixated on it. So some of it too, like you do get people in the gym that train 10 or 12 reps, close to failure-ish, you know, for like, and that's a typical body. That's where like kind of a lot of this stemmed for me. Literally when I started reading bodybuilding stuff was probably late 90s when I started to read everything. First started with Arnold, and then I'm reading Flex magazine. So at that point in time, you know, it's Dorian stuff, and you got some of Dorian stuff. I remember it's so funny, like everybody at the time doesn't like the current champ. Everyone's nostalgia. Like when Phil was winning so much, everyone's like, oh like Phil, it was so much better with Ronnie. And now that Phil's gone, like, bring Phil back, it was so much better.
It's always the guy before or the guy next.
So the funny thing is, like, it sounds like blasphemy now, but I remember I was such a huge fan of Arnold, and then I was such a huge fan of Dorian. When Ronnie first won, it's not that anybody didn't like him or something, but even just being a very, you know, I was like 15, 16 at the point in time, like a spectator, purely didn't understand the sport at all. I remember like, I don't like this guy compared to like Dorian. I was like,
are you serious?
Yeah, and honestly, the funny thing is people
That's
kind of
awesome.
had that feel. I mean, just when there was that transition, people were like, well, Dorian's the best. I mean, this guy's okay, but like, and then obviously Ronnie does what Ronnie did. And now it's like, Ronnie's the GOAT. And so it's funny, everyone's always emotional on those transitions. But I remember when I started reading that point in time, all of Flex magazine was basically all the same stuff. It was like every exercise is like 3 or 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps. And I remember when I started like trying to emulate that stuff, I was like so confused like how to go about it. And I'd be like, well, how do I go all out on this first set and then all the rest suck, or do I kind of save myself for 2 or 3 and then go all the way to the end, but then I'm already tired?
Right.
And so I think that's where it's like, and that's why I like Dorian so much. Because at first I was like reading how he trained, and like it just made more sense to me. It's like, okay, well, this is your singular focus. That's the number you're trying to progress and beat. And then finding out that obviously a lot of his stuff was influenced originally by Arthur Jones, of course. And then the funny thing is now everything coming full circle and having trained for a bajillion years and a million people, like that's, you know, that stuff can work, you know, 10 to 12, a little bit, as long as it's somewhere close together. Obviously it can work for a while, but I tend to find the same thing I found a lot of other coaches, a lot of other trainers have found, like the further along you get, the more advanced you get, one, you can't tolerate that much volume as much too, you know, so obviously like you doing 4 sets of 10 to 12, 10 years ago, what kind of effect did that have on your body compared to you doing 4 sets of 10 to 12 now? So one, a lot of people realize like you just can't, your recovery is not endless. You just can't keep adding more volume everywhere. So for that reason, I feel like it can be a little bit, you need, I would say you want, the same as always, you want as little stimulus as possible to produce maximal results of progress. So like as the bigger you get, one, you literally, I think, can't tolerate as much volume. So like kind of that lower intensity approach makes sense. And then also too, it gives you like, at some point in time, you can just kind of casually keep putting more weight on the bar to run 3 or 4 sets. At some point in time, that starts to catch up. And everybody, it doesn't matter how good your genetics are, you've reached that point of diminishing returns. You know, so you have to, at some point in time, be maybe a little bit more structured and a little bit more, I don't know, precise with how you're actually progressing. And it's really tough. Like again, the same question I had in the beginning, like, how the hell do I progress over 4 sets? Whereas if, okay, here's this set I progress on. And then like I said, back off sets. I like that approach too, because people are actually working hard. It is a tough balance. I get a question all the time, which is a good question. People are like, well, what's more important? Like as heavy as I can lift or perfect form? And they don't like the answer. It's like, well, both. Like I don't know, shut up. I just want to know one or the other. And I'm like, but that, and I'm like, the reason you're having a hard time coming to terms with this is because that's everything, right? Yeah. It is hard. Like people don't want that answer. Like that is very hard to balance.
Well, I was telling a guy yesterday, I said, you know, he was wanting to go in, he's like, you know, start repping out these stiff leg deadlifts. And I said, whoa, I know it's only 135 pounds, and you're strong. You're a college football player. But just hear me out. I need you to go slow, and I need you to do perfect reps. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because as we start loading 2 plates, 3 plates, 4 plates on, and it gets heavier, your form is going to slack just a little bit as you're going heavier, but I want your mind to be conditioned to doing these perfect, so that when we add more load to the bar, you're still thinking, I have to perform this perfectly, rather than just, I'm gonna rep these out really fast because it's easy and I'm strong.
Yeah.
That's how you tear something. That's how you get less stimulation out of a muscle. So though it may be effective in your football training, today we're training bodybuilding. And this is how, like, what goes through my mind. And so going off of that, you know, one of the hardest things for me as an athlete has been to know when to back off a little bit, because being a collegiate wrestler myself and coming into bodybuilding, it was just, how hard can I go? Every day I'm gonna absolutely murder myself. And so coming from a coach's perspective, like, okay, we're gonna write this methodical plan out, and everything you've been saying makes perfect sense to me now that I've been doing this for many years. But that's been the hardest thing for me, is like, I wanna come in and I wanna absolutely murder myself in the very first couple of sets. And then what do you have after that? You can't do that. Like you said, when you get a little bit more advanced, you get a little bit bigger or stronger, you have to definitely structure your training a little different too.
Yeah. And that's the fun stuff for me. I mean, everybody, especially when you're, and I get it, because I honestly vividly remember being 15, 16, 17, 18, and reading stuff, and then as soon as it's like in my 20s, and all the way just like wanting to learn stuff. And when I was asking some of these questions, I'd get the same answers that I would give now, and I would hate to hear it. I'd be like, well, what's this or that? I'd ask like this little advanced stuff, and then people would talk to me about, you know, eating whole foods and a structured diet and sleep and recovery, and I'd be like, shut up, just tell me the secret. Like, how many secrets? And but like people don't realize, like, the stuff I like talking about is like, well, how do I utilize warm-up sets? Like, I always tell people, like, that's even at the highest level, that's neglected. When people are like, what is it, weight or form? I was like, well, first off, the time to overthink things is your warm-up set, right? Because if you can overthink those things, I say same as, like, as I always make the joke, it's like bodybuilders, people that train don't practice. We don't, like, if you think about what Tom Brady does to throw in a game, like, no one sees the practice. Like, there was a whole lot of thinking, right? It's like what am I don't know what, obviously I'm not understanding football coaching, but what is my footwork? What is my body doing? And obviously he trains to have his body so he can have a level of output. And then he's doing different things, obviously, with his mechanics. All that stuff is the practice. And then when he's in the game, he just goes and does his thing. He's not overthinking things. It's the muscle memory. And I say bodybuilders, we don't have that. Like, our performance is the gym. But then I joke, well, when is our practice? And most bodybuilders are like, what does that mean? I was like, well, if you actually use those warm-up sets to practice, to overthink things, the more you do that, the less you're gonna have to think during your working set. And that's the balance too. And then that, like the same thing we're talking about, is it more form, is it more working effort? Like, that's the reason I like back off sets too. The same reason you said, it's like realizing it's never gonna be perfect. The harder things are, you know, form might slip a teeny bit. And that's the difference. Like, the beginner, it's gonna slip a lot. As you get more advanced, you'll be able to hold it closer to that form the longer you go along. But even then, it's like, all right, well, here's my top set. I'm gonna, if anything, you know, tip the scale slightly on the effort side. And then, like you said, if I have a back off set, then maybe then I'll try and tip the scale slightly on the form side. And because then the reality is, like, again, you could always, when I'm answering someone, they say, well, do, like, which one do I do? And I do both. I understand why that's slightly frustrating. And then the longer conversation is that, realizing, okay, well, no one's perfect, so they might not stay at the highest level possible. So this is, again, where that top set, back off set thing can have good practical application of trying to balance that kind of stuff. And
the only way to really know that, I mean, you could write that on paper all day long, but to really know it, you have to go in and do it day after day, week after week, year after year.
Oh, for sure.
And over time, it'll just, like those questions that you were having before, it's like, can you just tell me?
Yeah, just give me the answer.
Black and white.
Yeah.
Now you're thinking, no, like, there's more that I think about when I come in to practice and come in to train. It's not just, okay, X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, there's more to this that I'm thinking about than just okay, 10 to 12 reps, how much weight, whatever. Tempo, everything. Like the form, all of that matters. So yeah, man, and I promise not to steal your thunder, but I've never heard somebody say about going to the gym to practice, because I've said that before to Trevor. I said how I'm here to practice every rep of every set today. Literally. And so that's funny you say that, because I totally believe that to be true. Like, you have to come in, you have to be practicing your form, because if you slip for even one set, imagine, you know, like the weeks moving forward, you're just going to continue to allow yourself to slip because I was able to get that weight last time. Well, did you really get it with good strict good form, or did you try to throw around the weights?
And that's a tough part too. I would say is the progressive overload is like what happens with people now, because that's the whole, again, all this rambling.
We can sit here and talk all day.
The funny thing too is I actually had someone say once, we're against the internet, everyone has an opinion, but it makes me think about stuff. where I had somebody say like, man, well, you know, and I know this is my deal. I have nothing short, you know, so me doing a reel, if you guys ever see a reel from me, you're fucking welcome, because that is really tough for me to do. Like, I can't talk short. I had somebody like, oh, Joe just likes to listen to himself talk. And I was like, if you know, like every single day, like if I ever have free time, my free time is sitting in silence.
Is it?
You know, so like when I'm in my car to and from taking my kids to school, I'm normally replying to messages, audio replies on my forum, getting back to people. If I ever get my list done and I have 5 minutes left of the drive, I don't have music on. I literally am like, oh, silence. I don't have to hear anyone else talk. I don't have to hear myself talk. And it's funny is, again, thinking about when I would hear people that were producing results long before I was doing it longer, I would hear people like ask a question and give this long answer. And I remember sitting there thinking like, what is the point in this long answer? And I just didn't comprehend the context they were creating. Where again, the longer you do this, the more context you actually need. Because if it was just write stuff on paper, everyone could copy Ronnie Coleman's program and look like Ronnie Coleman, genetics and stuff on the side. But it's obviously how you do things is everything. And that's the stuff that you said I like as well too, is like, it's the longer you're doing this, people at a higher level, you do need that balance of, you know, how I can lift heavy, I'm really, really strong, or I can really, really focus on form. And the reality is there is a balance. And it's tough too, because the reason I understand it's tough for people is where do you get like a good outside source? Because most people don't ever have someone, first off, let's say you do have someone that can tell you, hey, maybe do this or that. Does that person know what the hell they're talking about? I mean, an outside source is good. But it's tough to actually say, do I have a qualified outside source? And the funny thing is I'll find people will latch on to what they like. So, you know, if somebody that doesn't want to train hard, doesn't want to lift heavy because it's hard, you know, find someone online that says, hey, this is the form guide, but oh, good, validating everything that I'm saying.
So you don't have to train hard.
And they literally just have the exact same weight. Oh, I'm going to squeeze harder every time. I'm going to get my protractor out and get this perfect angle and all that. And I was like, well, you're just going to your bias. And what you probably really need is some progressive overload, is some actual work ethic, the ability to take things far. And then I find it funny though, when I get around, because a lot of people I'm around are people that are legitimately strong, like really strong, can actually lift a whole ton of weight. But then like you said, it's at some point in time, those smaller percentages make a difference, right? So the nerd with the protractor is like, you can't keep taking your form, you can't progress your form forever, right? So you can't take it from, so you think my form was an 8.1, tomorrow it's an 8.2, tomorrow it's an 8.3. Like there's not, what's the opportunity for growth there? It's very marginal. Whereas when you're at a high level, you're already lifting ridiculously heavy weight.
Right.
Those are some people that actually would benefit from those marginal small percentages.
Yeah, the way I see it is like, I went to the gym plenty of times and had a killer training session, right? And I realized looking back, like, I didn't really have much stimulation for I didn't really get out of the workout what I wanted to get, even though I had a crazy training session. And over time, that's kind of the do's and don'ts that we were just talking about. Over time, you learn that there's more that goes into it than just having a killer training session. So it's great to have that killer instinct. You come in, you want to, you murder the gym, but at the same time, what are you actually getting out of that training session? And that's what I'm thinking about the whole time, is that, okay, we want to grow the quads, or we want to grow the lats, or whatever. This is what we need to do to get there. And so it doesn't mean go in and just trash your body, because maybe you're laid up for 3 days after that, maybe, and I don't want to get mistaken where, you can just go light and easy either. So there is a time where that push and pull, that's how I like to simply put it, is sometimes you come in, you got to just absolutely, go balls to the wall. And then sometimes you got to just, focus on, okay, what is it today that I need to do to get the best results for tomorrow?
Yeah, and that's all that stuff too. That's when people ask about variables, like, should I do this or should I do that? And I'm like, if you don't know, like, because the answer most of the time is try it. Right?
Try it and figure it out.
Implement, and then, but the thing is, I say, we'll implement it, and then measure and track results of progress. And then if the next question is like, well, how do I measure or track results? I'm like, there's your problem, right? Because that's it. I always joke, like, people want to, like, I've used the analogy before, I'll think of a better one at some point in time, but someone wants to like make a shake that tastes good, and they put 47 ingredients in. They don't know how much of each ingredient, it's different every single time. And then they're saying like, man, would like cinnamon make this taste better? And then it's like, well, I don't know, they put some cinnamon in, but they already have 47 ingredients in there. They don't know what the ingredients are, they don't know how much of anything. They put the cinnamon in and want to know, did that have an effect on the taste? Like, who the hell knows? You've got so much shit going on, nothing's measured, nothing's tracked, nothing's whatever. So that's how most people are about. They'll read one random thing online, like, I'm gonna try that, I'm gonna try that. But they actually have no idea what's doing what, because everything's all over the place.
And I think it really just does go back to what we said. It depends on your level. If you are an advanced athlete, you're an IFBB pro, an Olympian bodybuilder, or a Mr. Olympia, something along that sort of that high elite level, then those small, minute details make a huge difference.
Yeah.
If you're Joe Schmo that, okay, this is your first year of being in the gym, making just a minor tweak and just saying, here, do this basic, simple plan. You're gonna see good results, but the more advanced that you get, the more you need to fine tune what you're actually doing.
Yeah, and that's always the missing part too. That's the context for who.
Yeah.
Because some people like, does this really matter? Like, with something, and I'm like, depends. I mean,
Depends on your level.
Depends on your guts. The whole thing is like, if I go bowling, once every 3 years, I'm like, I don't want, I'm gonna post it online. Someone say, well, technically you should do this and that. Like, look, I bowl, once every 3 years. I got the bumpers on there for my kids. I'm good. And
I leave the bumpers on for me too.
and I make the joke too, or like I have my ongoing joke, which is because I've been in gyms my whole life with every single normal population there as well too. Some people's goal is to come to the gym for murder prevention, right? They're gonna come in and just like rip shit off the walls, punch and pull, and get some physical aggression out, so they don't let that physical aggression out in public. And so it's like, should that person care about this angle, their protractor profiles, and all? I'm like, no, they shouldn't. They should just worry about getting in here and releasing some anger, so they don't release it on me out in the public, at the grocery store or something. That's all this stuff as well too. Is like it's tough, obviously, in a 60-second reel. I can't say all that. So people are like, does this really matter? I'm like, no, it's a 60-second reel, and I talk mostly to like super duper meathead nerds. But, but if you're just casually came across my page and you're saying, does this really matter? It's like, it might not for you. There's lots of Instagram pages that are like speaking to a high level of some subject that I know nothing about. But the difference is I wouldn't go on that page and be like, this is stupid, why does that matter? But I'm not gonna get into the social media lack of, any
Give
type
you a
of
lot of comments below.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not true. That's not right.
This is so stupid.
He thinks he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. But anyway.
Cool.
All right, good work.
I don't have time. Yeah, all right, see you. Take it easy.